Chapter 2, Speaking Out. The place was Des Moines, Iowa. The year was 1965. At the time, Americans were fighting in Vietnam, a country in Southeast Asia. A high school student named John Tinker and his younger sister, Mary Beth, decided to protest the Vietnam War in school. Most people in their community at that time supported the war. Still, the Tinker kids felt that they had to speak out. Did they have that right? During the 1960s, many people questioned whether U.S. troops should be fighting in Vietnam. In Des Moines, most people would have said yes. But the Tinker family had different ideas. They felt it was wrong for the United States to be involved. In December 1965, the Tinkers met with some other adults and students. They talked about ways to protest the war. John and Mary Beth Tinker and some other students decided to wear black armbands to school. We wanted to mourn the dead on both sides of the war, explained John. School board members in Des Moines found out about the plan. They were not happy. They believed the armbands would take students' attention away from their studies. They also felt that students should support the country's leaders. On December 14, the board made a new rule. Armbands could not be worn in school. Freedom of speech. For adults only? On December 16, 1965, Mary Beth Tinker wore an armband to her middle school. Her morning classes went smoothly. The armband didn't cause any problems. But after lunch, the principal called her to his office. He suspended Mary Beth from school for breaking the rules. John Tinker also wore an armband to his high school. John's armband didn't cause any problems either. One day later, he was suspended. The Tinkers hired a lawyer and took their case to court. The case made Des Moines residents very angry. Someone threw red paint at the Tinker house. A radio talk show host complained about what the Tinkers were doing. He said someone should shoot John and Mary Beth's father. But John and Mary Beth did not give up. They believed that the school board had violated their First Amendment rights. The First Amendment protects citizens' freedom of speech. The Tinkers said the armbands were a form of speech. They were the students' way of speaking out against the Vietnam War. The school board said that the First Amendment did not apply to students. They also argued that the armbands might cause fights and keep students from paying attention in class. In 1969, the case called Tinker versus Des Moines went to the Supreme Court. In the end, the court ruled in favor of the Tinkers. Heads up, the students wore armbands to show how they felt about the Vietnam War. What effect did the armbands actually have? Under photo caption, Mary Beth held up the armband she wore to protest the war. The justices said that schools do have the right to make rules to keep order, and freedom of speech should not get in the way of learning. But, they said, students have the same right to express their political opinions just as adults do. Students do not shed their rights at the schoolhouse gate, the justices said. The First Amendment protects students' right to protest as long as they do it with respect. John and Mary Beth felt that they had to speak out, and they were glad that they did. I've learned that ordinary people can make a difference, Mary Beth said. Heads up, students have the right to protest as long as they do it with respect. What kinds of protests would not be allowed?